Boom. I can do that. Ah, victory, victory, victory is mine. Welcome to Crew. We're on, buddy. Ah, my God. What a day, what a day, what a day. I am Hardy. Welcome to Crew Call Live. I'm a camera guy, obviously, because I've been tech supporting this thing. Joel is an audio guy, president of the IA100. I'm very happy he's joining me today. My God, I am stressed out because I've been trying to figure this thing out the whole time here. But I'm glad you're joining me. I am finally on the Behind the Broadcast YouTube channel, and I'm looking forward to sharing some insights and some information on the craft that we represent as a union and all the things that we do in broadcasting sports in New York's area. So Joel is the president of our union, IATSE Local 100, but he's also obviously an A1. He's the audio engineer of the, tonight we are in the SNY Webby truck, which normally does Mets, but we're tonight at the Barclays Center doing the Yes Network broadcast of the Brooklyn Nets. So this is the switcher. This is Joel Salkowitz. Joel, thanks for joining me, buddy. I appreciate you taking time. I appreciate you sitting here listening to me troubleshoot on the phone and figuring it all out. Obviously, I'm a camera guy, but let's start with, I don't want to get into all the union stuff first. Let's talk about this stuff, all the audio stuff, because I think, in my opinion, this chair, that chair, and there's a chair in the middle with a lot of buttons in the front of it are the two most intimidating chairs. If you want to get into this industry, you come in here and you look at all the cabling and all the buttons and you're like, oh my God, could I ever do that? You were not intimidated by that. What was your start into this?
Well, I started my very, very early background was in radio. And
They went to school for like you wanted to?
no, it wasn't even school, but I worked in going back to college radio and then eventually I worked in the radio industry for about 25 years and had started the very, very beginning in production, which is sort of the mixing part of this.
Well, like working with bands or
just
shows?
doing at a radio station, like producing commercials, that kind of stuff. So that's
with talent, doing
sometimes scripts, sometimes me as the talent, some whatever, and then worked through the radio business. I ran 3 different radio stations in New York and all the music programming for Sirius for
I remember that because you had dipped into the TV business for a little while.
Right.
We crossed paths at Fox News. You were A1 in there too, and then you went over to Sirius, and then you did some years over there.
Right.
Then you kind of dipped back in. So you had a first love of audio of the business.
So that's where it sort of came from. The production part of radio was the like moving faders around and mixing sounds and stuff together. And then coming over to TV, that really is sort of the easiest part of this job, actually mixing the show. You have to pay attention to what's going on and stuff. The complicated part of this job is setting all of this up.
Pre-pro?
No, actually building. You can't see like all of
I'll show
all of this over here.
I'll show you. There's a rack over there of stuff. I'm showing you.
And this is how all the sources, microphones, and everything get into the truck, right? Find their way on it. I decide where to put them on the console, and then everything gets routed from here to the tape machines, to transmission, to whatever different paths into the headsets of the talent that are listening to the show. All of that stuff gets done in the audio room here. And for a show like this, I'm it. If you were working on the World Series or something, there would be what's called a comms person that would take care of all the intercom stuff, all the communications, so that people can talk to each other. For people that haven't seen this before, if you've watched like an award show or the Grammys or something like that, and you've seen people walking around kind of off on the side of the stage, they get caught on camera sometimes wearing headsets. Like, well, the person in this room or in the comms room for a bigger show determines who they're talking to, who gets to talk to them.
They set up the groupings of this group will talk to this group, this group will have access to this group, and you have to keep track of all that stuff because all of a sudden somebody's going to say, hey, I need to speak to so-and-so, or I need to have so-and-so.
And that all has to get set up in here. There's software for this. This in the sports world, they use a program called AZ Edit, which sort of controls and operates all of the intercom stuff in here, the headsets, the IFBs, that's the stuff that feeds the headsets to the talent or the earpieces to the talent. So that all gets done in here. That's the harder part of this job. And then determining based on what production requires for this, oh, we need to be able to record the sideline reporter offline, meaning when they're not on TV. There's going to be a broadcast going on. The sideline reporter is going to go off on the side and they're going to do an interview with a player or a guest or whoever.
What do you got? You got a question for us? We're live.
We're on TV.
Yeah. No, we are. What's up? How are you, bud? Yeah, no, we are. So tell me a little bit more about engineering came in for a question, but I guess I didn't have a question. So
we'll make something up.
Yeah. You can't make that. But like he came in and so he came in and looked at those. What was he looking at?
He's just looking up at stuff.
The RF?
Those are the frames for the party lines, the PLs, the powered. That's what drives the headsets that have belt packs with them.
Wireless or
those are all wired.
Oh, wired.
Yeah.
So then there's let's talk about not only the fact that you have to work out of this room and work all the equipment in the room. You're working with other people too. So you're the A1. There's an A2 on the show that has to now take all those microphones and put them outside, put them out on the court, or in all the places that you do. You meet with him. Do you give him paperwork? I saw some paperwork behind me before.
Yeah.
Do you give him a setup, or most of the guys we see regularly here, they know.
For this show, we have the same people. I do all the Yes Nets home shows here. So it's the same setup, give or take another piece of talent someplace there, another microphone somewhere. It's the same setup. We have it pretty dialed in. It's the same people, the same A2s that work on the show. So they just go out, they take our gear, set it up, they know where to plug it in, and it all shows up in here in
where you told them because you've gone over it's the repetitive thing.
Yeah.
But if you were working on a truck for the first time and you work with an A2, because that does happen.
Sure.
We show up all the time on a job and you've not seen the truck as regularly as you see this one, or you see a new truck and you have a new A2. How do you work that learning curve?
It's for that kind of thing. We'd prep up some paperwork saying, here's how we're going to get these microphones from the booth here. And there's a bunch of different ways that can be done on copper, right? On regular microphone lines. It can be done digitally on what's called a hydro box that sends multiple sources down a single fiber line.
Yeah. So that connectivity has changed a lot.
Yeah.
I remember before it was all copper, running a lot of mults, figuring out the booth. Now with the advance of some of the technologies that we see, obviously the fiber technology makes everything move quickly. So
it's all in one place. We did the latest and sort of greatest.
But you risk more also. If there's a risk reward, is it as dependable as the copper lines? It can be, but
it probably not. Okay, because it's plugged in. For example, the hydro box, which is fiber, has to be plugged into 110 volts in the wall. Somebody unplugs it, the whole show goes away, or at least the audio portion of the show goes away.
You don't want to do that. Don't pull a plug you don't know what it's powered to.
There's a new technology now called Dante.
Oh, yeah,
Sends its audio over IP. You can send a tremendous amount of data down a single fiber line, but it's one line. If something happens to that, I've worked on shows in the past where somebody's unplugged, or just tripped over the wire for the switch. It's like a network switch that connects all this stuff together. It does happen, and somebody will tell you, well, some idiot forgot to, strain relief the plug or whatever, so that couldn't happen. But it does happen, and when it does, then you lose the entire setup that's at the other end of that switch. So it does work. It is reliable when it works. It sounds good.
What do you find is your biggest the biggest thing that normally you have to troubleshoot the most?
It varies from
is it because
show
of,
to show.
Is it because of the difference between like I said, you work with this industry, we work out of a truck. This truck is now in Brooklyn. This truck could be tomorrow at another
It was
facility,
in
at
New
another.
Jersey yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Were you on the truck
Yeah,
yesterday?
yeah.
You were in the same room yesterday. Did you leave and knowing that you'd be here today? Did you kind of?
I did. I had this show 3/4 of the way set up before I went home last night.
How did you know in advance? You looked on the.
This is the same
But
net
but
show.
but on most of our paper, we don't see the trucks on.
We get the information because we have stuff to set up for the shows. For example, last night we did the Dallas Stars show
Right.
at the Devils.
I
So
did. I did them the other night
yeah.
at
So I get the paperwork
MSG.
from the Dallas
Yeah,
Stars
yeah.
that say, here's who's
That's a
going to be
cloud show
here.
too. The director was in
Director was in Dallas. Vito
Vito.
was in Dallas, and everybody else, actually the director was in Dallas. One of the tape operators was in Dallas. The graphics person was in Dallas. The scorebug operator was in Dallas. The only person from the Dallas production team that was there was the producer and their talent, obviously, that was in the booth for it.
Well, now that we brought it up, because we talked about how the jobs are now being remote. We talked about he's a union president. I'm wearing the union colors here. We're trying to represent our workforce here. This is a changing, evolving workforce and workplace. The jobs are here. There's still a lot of jobs here, but some of the work is definitely shifting. Like you said, before in the old ways, there would be a lot more people working out of this truck, out of a
Everybody
visiting
would
truck.
be here.
Yeah.
This all sort of got its kickstart during COVID
Yeah.
when they had to find a way to do this, and they couldn't have a lot of people close together, in the same room or the same TV truck. So they began to remote some of the equipment. You'd actually have somebody sitting in a control room at home operating a graphics machine in the truck or operating the score bug in the truck. So
all that it makes sense because the equipment will stay here, but the controls of that equipment could be anywhere. Yeah, and the people. Yeah, so you can be controlling. I mean, I've done an AFC championship game where they couldn't do a seat kill to position my camera, so they put it on built it overhanging it, and we did it as a pan bar, and I was sitting in the trailer in the parking lot, and there was very little lag on it, and did I love doing it that way? No, but did I get the job done? Yes.
Right. I mean, it's getting faster and faster as the connectivity, as the pipe, I guess, for the internet and broadband stuff gets bigger. That stuff moves faster. There's less latency in it, which means you make a move with a controller in, Salt Lake City, and it moves the camera, in New York. They can
But
do that.
do you think with like you said, we said graphics, EVS, some of those other jobs. Do you think this job is one of those jobs that could be moved to do it?
If they wanted to, they could do it. I had a conversation with somebody at CBS during COVID, sort of half serious about being able to mix a show out of my living room and, putting a small version of this console that could be connected, back to the broadcast house at CBS.
Right.
All of these things are possible, and they're becoming more and more possible every day.
But I always feel like when you change the product chain, the way a product is made, that you kind of change the quality of the product. You risk changing the quality of that product.
You do. I think this is a conversation that we've had for years now, probably.
And probably we're going to continue for a little bit longer than that.
I think it started when ESPN first started doing their Remy broadcast, which is a large version of what we're talking about here, where basically the only people that were on at the venue were the camera guys. And it could have been as much or as removed as the talent not even being here.
Well, that happens. Now that happens a lot more than ever.
Sitting in a control room someplace, watching the game on TV and calling it from there. Most of the people that I've talked to, that like play-by-play and color analysts and stuff, hate that because they're not getting any sense of the.
You're not seeing.
You're not getting the
out of the atmosphere.
audience.
You're out of the atmosphere. I mean, I always felt like in sports, especially, the business and the job is about storytelling. It's always about storytelling. So, having the tools and using the tools properly to tell those stories is important. So I just don't know if that always.
If you would have the reaction is going to come either from the fans, or I think it's going to come from advertisers. it's one of those things where, again, using, not to pick on ESPN, but they sort of started,
Yeah.
this thing and expanded a lot. But until Anheuser-Busch calls up ESPN and says your show looks like crap, it sounds terrible, or whatever, they're going to continue to do this. The fan reaction is a little bit harder to gauge when the fans when they did what were called world feeds during
Yeah,
COVID,
yeah,
the teams were required to cut what was sort of considered a neutral show, right? You couldn't favor one team or the other in the process. Well, if you're a Yankee fan, you want to see
yeah.
what's going
Yeah.
on with the
Yeah.
Yankees. And if
We're
they're
gonna get another
playing
question. Hey,
if they're playing
what's
the
up?
Red Sox, uh,
Just saying hi.
Oh,
hi.
yeah, we're live on doing we're doing it on Behind the
Doing-
Broadcast YouTube channel. I'm talking to him about the A1 stuff. So, yeah.
Right.
No, how are you? Enjoy.
um,
Now you know we're
I
live.
know.
That's
Right.
another truck guy, right?
Yeah.
But everybody wants to come into audio and hang out. Huh? It's a quiet place.
But that again, just to look at the fans, if you're doing a completely separate broadcast for the Yankees and for the Red Sox, then the Red Sox producer can put together a package of like the four
Yeah,
amazing catches that the left fielder got at the like smashing into the wall,
Yeah.
right? And vice versa for the Yankees. Here's
Right.
like, three
Well, that's
amazing plays.
that's how you build the brand. That's why
Right.
you build that's
Right.
you build these sports brands
Once
with
you
this
begin
product.
to
I know.
lose that, right,
I
for
know.
people that
Yeah.
are really fans, that begins to make a difference. They want to
I
see
think
the
in the
story.
beginning that it made a little bit of sense because I felt that a lot of those ESPN shows that we were doing those when it was ESPN 3 or whatever were games that would have never been broadcast
Right.
if they weren't going on those other platforms. And in order to do it, they had to scale back as best they could with equipment and whatever they could to get it done.
People.
But in our world, it doesn't. Even though you scale back the equipment, it doesn't make the job easier for us. In most cases, it makes it harder because
And-
it's trucks that don't do this the way it's supposed
Right.
to be done, and they want to fudge it. You have to like make this do this or make this stuff look like this is a full 18-wheeler truck with an
Right.
expando, an expanding out thing. If you've seen some of the other stuff, we have seen some trucks that look like the bread
The
truck,
bread truck,
the little
the
smaller
horse trailers.
horse trailers. They're smaller trailers, but the product they want is the same as what we get out of something like this, but
Right.
but they don't have this. But I get it. We're in a technology-driven world. The technology you can. I mean, there's guys. I mean, I didn't do a great job on setting this thing up today. My God. But I know there's probably some kid in his basement like, dude, I do this with my gaming, and
Right,
it's never
like
a
all day.
all day long. It's never a problem. You
Right.
can't figure out how to do a two.
I
You know,
called my daughter. She
I
does
know.
it like
I was gonna reach out to my son, but I was embarrassed. But I just feel that all the changes you can't prevent it. There's technology. There's going to be this stuff. But if you really want to if you really want to not affect the product, then there's got to be training. Then you got to have people
Right.
learning how to use the equipment properly to optimize the performance and really get what you want to get.
Yeah.
The results. You want results? You need to have not the 10,000. I mean, they $10,000 to make you a pro at anything, but give me a couple of days to figure some stuff, learn out a couple of the intricacies, especially with some of the equipment and the gear that you have to work with. I mean, that's I think the hardest.
It's hard.
Barrier.
As you said early on here, the two probably most complicated jobs here are this one and the technical director who's sitting in the next room on a video switcher
Yeah.
like this. And you have to be here to do this. We're in the process of trying to get something set up to have a TV truck, parked someplace so that we can get a couple of people that are interested in being TDs or being audio people. And you can't wheel this console into a conference room or a classroom or something.
Yeah, I know.
do
Well,
this-
it's a lot harder to do. I mean, that's why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I've always felt like there's only two ways. You want to get into this business and in this industry, get into this chair or any chair here. You either get exposed to the equipment or the people. That's how it works.
And then you have to come out. I've trained a couple people over the years here. They come, they shadow you for a while, then you give them, more and more pieces of the show to build on their own. You give them the patch list and go, here, go set this up. set up the console and get stuff going where it's supposed to go.
Yeah, bits
And
and pieces. You learn in bits and
and at
pieces.
some point, as I've told a couple of people that have done this, you will reach a point where you will have enough knowledge or information to do this. The next part is you come in here and you take your ass kicking because
You
you're going to
got
sit down here and you're going to make mistakes,
Yeah, the road to success is paved with failure. It just is.
you're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. I still have nightmares about the first shows that I did.
Yeah.
Even
The key is
yeah,
learning from them. The
yeah,
key is just learn from those mistakes, and it'll make you a better technician,
right,
a better audio engineer, better at everything. Just have thick skin.
yeah.
Just be like, you know what, it's okay.
It's only a TV show.
Yeah.
Really. We're not like saving lives here.
I know. I mean, but you brought out you made a good point. Like, so I think a lot of people think that there isn't any because we don't have any. I'm like I said, union president. We don't have a apprenticeship program. We don't really have any pathway programs. Thankfully, the union has been supporting. I teach a class at Pace University, and we have a little bit of we're being seen in the community, and there's a way for kids to learn more about what we do and how we do it. But there are still some programs out there. If you're interested, you can find. But the on-the-job training isn't that much organized as we'd like it to be. So it is important for the unions to want to do this stuff. And
a lot of those early pathways are gone. I said I started out in radio. There was a college radio station when I went to school. Universities and colleges are shutting down and selling off their radio stations.
Yeah.
Okay. My daughter went to school in Texas. They had, a TV production, studio, and she worked on shows there. But that world where you can do it, and even once you get out of the school, university thing, a lot of people that we work with started working in like a master control at a cable head end or something, or they worked in a studio for the cable, public access channels and stuff. So you got a chance to get in and start to touch stuff, and so that when you walked in here, it wasn't all like, oh my God, what is this? Okay, here's 5 things I haven't seen, but here's a few that I actually know about, right? Those pathways into this are disappearing in a lot of places. There aren't locally produced. Look at for this area, News 12, right? You had that in a couple of different places in New Jersey and Westchester, Long Island.
They have suburban cable. There was a lot of local.
Right.
I mean, if you are lucky enough to live in an area where there is some local cable stations that are still doing programming, it's a good way to start. The other thing I suggest, and I think is another good place to start, is years ago, and I've said this before, there used to be a big disparity between the productions like these and what the in-house was doing and the in-house shows. Now these in-house shows have equipment that's very much in line with what we're doing. They have a lot of commonality in the workflow, so it's a very good starting point. And almost, I would say, it's becoming not as much of it's coming collaborative work. It's not even like, oh, as a way up. It's other work that people want to do. There are guys who are doing it more. The rates have gotten better, like at the Garden and other places, to do the work. They finally respect that. It enhances the product. This place, they put on a huge in-house performance. There's like 50 people on staff here between the dancers, there's
a bunch of audio guys.
Yeah,
there's a TD that switches the video screens in the arena.
Yeah, there's a lot of production that happens.
Yeah.
If you could find your way, like I said, exposure to equipment, exposure to the people is a great way to get this thing done. Oh, what? Oh,
Sushi.
sushi.
Just
Yeah.
a doctor order.
Dinner.
Dinner. Well,
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Joel thankfully had given up his time, and they were able to.
Like I'm wasting away here.
Yeah, sending out something for. No, that's. We'll go a little bit longer, and we'll finish this out and see how it's going. I mean, thankfully we got on the air, and I made it happen, and I hope you guys enjoy the call. We're not going to take questions because I don't think I set this up right with the Zoom. I'm sorry, I messed up. What am I going to do? But next week, if I can figure out how to do this broadcast, this has been a learning curve for me. Like I said, I'm 30 years in on doing what I'm doing, and I'm still learning about what I consider to be basic production stuff to make a little thing work, to be able to show you guys a little insight on how this stuff works. But if next week, It is behind the broadcast YouTube every week, 5 o'clock, live at 5. I'll be talking to sports and entertainment professionals, and I'm getting their stories about how they got into their positions, into doing what they're doing. They'll share their knowledge, they'll share all this. And if you want to join the call, you go to broadcastworkshops.org and you can join the call every week and you can ask questions. Not this week
Not wait.
because
Remember,
I didn't
kids,
mess it
don't
up.
try this at home.
Yeah, don't try this home. This is high tech stuff here. This Zoom meeting stuff. This platform that wants to overcharge me to freaking push buttons, but I don't want to get into that. But we'll figure this out eventually. But let's get back to what we're talking here about audio and stuff
Yep.
like that. So then, what switcher is this? A Calrec? What are
Yeah.
we? What are we?
It's a Calrec Artemis console. This is pretty standard issue for most TV trucks. The bigger version of this is called an Apollo. It's more faders, more resources available in it. There's smaller versions of it that are called a Brio. We use one of those in the B unit for the.
But is it like if you know one, you kind of know them all? Is there, or is there still like some quirkiness?
There's still some. They navigate differently. Like this, the Calrec consoles all navigate similarly. Okay, if you go on to an SSL solid state logic console or something else, it's going to
Lava?
be very Lavo is another one that's really showing up more like in the entertainment world. A lot of them are in Europe there. And then there's even smaller ones. We're talking about these like horse trailers and
Yeah.
stuff. There are these small like Yamaha and Allen Heath digital. They're this big. But they're very powerful.
But when you get to those kind of things, then you're at that point you're just thinking inputs and outputs, right? You're not
doing anything tricky. They can do a lot. I mean, it's
a lot more than
you would
because of
think.
the digital things now.
Yeah.
Because there's all these other add-ons that you can.
Yeah. Just because
interface.
there's 24 faders on the surface doesn't mean you can't go down 4 layers into the thing and do different stuff
and
so add more stuff to it.
So, but to be able to do that layering and all the other stuff like that, there's a learning curve to that, right?
Sure.
So how do you, is Calrec one of these good companies that offers training? Is there videos online? What are the resources for somebody out there who wants to learn? I mean, I don't
find
think
some of it, you'll find like Calrec produces some training videos. My experience and everybody, your mileage may vary, obviously, but I find I can't watch a video and do this. I need to be sitting in front of the thing and being able to like touch and move stuff around. When this console first came out, and I found that I was going to be doing a show on one of them, I called somebody that I know at Calrec, and he said, "Okay, we have an office in New York. Come down. We'll show you how the thing." Somebody spent a half an hour with me, basically showed me how to like move around and get stuff on it. He goes, "Just play around with it until you break it."
so.
We'll tell you what you
in
did
your
wrong.
head, you went in there knowing, okay, I'm going to be doing a sports show. So this board for me to do a sports show, I need to know how to get my mics in, my field mics, my IFBs. And so you went in your head and you kind of said, hey, how would I do this? How would I be able to do it? How will I group this thing? How will I set up my things?
It's really just how you're going to navigate around. The biggest thing, the single biggest valuable piece of advice that I got from another audio guy when I was first starting to do this is to learn signal flow. If you walk in here and go, oh, let's see, how's he got this one set up? Where's his microphone landed over here? It's not going to help because you can't walk in and replicate that necessarily, and it may not work for you. There's 4 different ways to do almost everything in here. How you get something in, how you get it out,
where you put it,
everybody puts it in a different place, and it becomes muscle memory, right? Like I do the same basic setup for a sports show on every console. So I know when I walk in, and I've been on most of the TV trucks that come through New York to do sports, that I can pull up my default on there, and a quarter or a third of the things that I need to start the day are going to be there. And where I put them.
So is that a default? Is that a like what they call like a scene file or a user file that you could load? Do you keep it on a thumb drive or
it stores in the console? I can take them with me. I take the files for the intercom for all the different shows or different trucks that I work on.
So you keep that.
I have that, and then I said I get paperwork from the Dallas Stars a couple days ahead of time. I can sit at home on my laptop and I can build their intercom file based on what they need.
Oh, without having access to the
Yeah,
actual.
I have their same software on
Oh,
my
so
computer.
you can use the software
Yeah.
and then make your changes.
Software is free. It's Telos RTS software. Um, you can download it for free, but you have to have an intercom file that's unique to each truck because of how whatever resources they have, what we have available in this intercom system on this truck is going to be different than what's
So what do you
available.
have? What do you have? A little bag of drives, and each one's like, this is for Yogi, this is for Webby.
It's one thumb drive.
You keep it all on one drive and just have different files for
Yep.
each one, and so that you have to be somewhat diligent, somewhat organized with a lot of your stuff,
Yeah.
and be aware of where where you're working and what you're working on ahead of time.
Yeah.
So you pay attention a lot to that.
Yeah, I try.
Well, you want to make sure that your
Yeah.
file is there because I mean, time is money. We want to make sure that you want to be able to. You didn't make your lunch today because you gave up the time to be here with me to have this thing. But no, normally, if let's just say you get your job done in time, you can have a little bit of extra time for your meal and have some time to get other stuff.
Right. You want to go out, get something to eat, wash your hands,
Well,
whatever.
talk about your layout. What are the groupings that you like? Is it you want talent mics here and effects mics for the game mic?
I usually use like either 4 or 5 groups on this to mix the show. I put the announcers on a group. I put the overall effects on another group, all the tape replay machines on another group, and music, whatever that happens to be, on another one. So that gives me the basics to be able to control the overall mix of that from one little section of the board. And then I have the ability to move for basketball. We use we use.
Bring up some mics. Maybe let's see what do we hear. What are we listening to?
Right now is whoever.
That's the press conference.
Yeah, so the press is going on.
I can't put anything up on here right now.
Yeah, so yes.
Handoff.
Oh, so like we were talking about before that you sometimes have to do a production and stuff has to be recorded while you're on the air. Even when you're not on the air, sometimes stuff has to be recorded. So he has to make sure that he routes the press conference mic because we know while we're away or some guys might not be here or have to run out of the truck for something that they're going to they're going to
be able to record it.
They're going to record it. It's already patched. Part of that pre-pro that we talked about earlier was patching that press conference mic to make sure that tape machine had that gets it so that way. Who gets that? Who gets that one? Was it YZ? Who do you know?
Oh, I don't know who's. I can look up on here. You can see it's probably into a couple of them.
Oh,
B and Y.
yeah.
Like
Oh, Wayne. It's B and Y have it. Wayne.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's Wayne Ho. Wayne Ho, one of our operators, gets a little shout out today on live and behind the broadcast. You know Wayne. He's a big golfer, a good guy. So I mean, this has been a lot of fun to come in here and talk to you about doing this job. What would be I want to end this with a little bit of advice. What would you tell an up and coming person coming into this industry and either wanting to work in the union or not union work, just wanted to get into broadcast? What would you give them the advice?
I mean, I can speak a little bit more specifically to audio. That's kind of some of the things we touched on earlier. If you can get yourself into a local cable operation, you know what, even if you're interested in audio, see if you can find a radio station, like a college radio station that you can volunteer at. It's gonna put you in front of an audio board of sorts. It's not gonna look like this, but it will give you some exposure to know it's like, okay, if I'm mixing some music with a voice, this is how it ought to sound, to do very, very basic stuff. And you can get, again, all of this has changed over the years. The days for people that came out of the music world and stuff that worked in these huge recording studios, a lot of those are just gone now. Because
where do you think it happens? Where do you think the recording industry happens? At home now?
Home
studio?
Microphone has got a recording studio now. If anybody's watching this that uses Pro Tools, all right. I mean, you can literally record an album in your basement if you're so inclined. Now,
do you put in much digital effects on a live broadcast? Do you play with those?
A little bit. We use on some of the trucks that have the capabilities. We use what are called waves plugins, and all that is a digital
enhancer
version of what used to be hardware-based audio processing, compressors, limiters, equalizers, all kinds of,
With the same type of handle, so you can still make adjustments for it.
yeah, but it's all on a computer now.
Do you feel, as a sound guy, do you feel in the digital world the sound is better or analog? What
It's
do you
for
like
the
the
for the
mix?
purposes of what we're doing here, it's kind of a wash. Okay. People that are audiophiles will tell you digital doesn't sound as good as analog does. Um, somebody was in here the other day talking about, there's different brands of audio consoles that are used for different, they're a little bit more sort of use specific. And somebody will say, well, a solid state logic console sounds better than the Calrec console. I'm like, maybe, okay. But when they call us to do the Metropolitan Opera, we can have a discussion about which one of these consoles sounds better. This sounds like a basketball game tonight.
Yeah, yeah.
It's going to sound like a
Uh,
basketball game on a solid state logic console.
yeah.
It's there's some nuance
Are
here.
we like a 5.1 show? Are we one of
This
those?
one's stereo.
Stereo show. So just left and right channel. You don't
Yep.
worry. Yeah. But we see a lot of those broadcasts now that do the
Yeah,
5.1
I do
channels.
the Army football games for CBS or 5-1.
Does that change a lot for you or no?
It's just more stuff. It's more microphones coming in instead of putting them in the two speakers in the front. Some of them have to go in the back. The announcers have to go in the middle. It's more setup for this.
Oh, because you actually have to send that directional because
Right.
you're trying to think about how
That's part of the mix of it.
Yeah.
I mean, sort of standard is,
Can I make a
Where's it-
complaint then for A1 guys? Because I listen to a lot of the 5.1 stuff and I like the announcers in the front
Right.
on the system, but I don't mind a little bit of the trace of announcer in it. Why?
depending on what network you're watching, they all have their way that they want it done.
Are you critical when, like, I mean, as a camera guy, every camera guy, if you're in this industry, and even if you're not in industry, if you want to get industry, you should change the way you watch TV. You become
Right.
more critical. You should develop a critical eye. You see things, you hear things. Do you have a more of a sensitive ear now
A little
to?
bit. The good news for me is I don't watch a lot of sports
Oh,
unless
really?
I'm like sitting here and somebody's sending me a check at the end of the night.
Come on.
But but out of curiosity, if nothing else, I'll turn on something that's supposed to be like one of the big put on the Super Bowl. All right. I want to see how the Super Bowl sounds different than my Army football game on CBS Sports Network. All right. And at the end of the day, with again, not to make light of it's a huge job.
Yeah, you would have to have a
Right.
sense. You would have to have a real trained ear to be
To-
able to tell the difference.
Of what I have coming out of the TV at West Point and what somebody else that's mixing the Super Bowl has coming out of the TV from where MetLife Stadium or wherever, the game is. It's it's there's a point of diminishing return, I guess. And
Yeah.
if you listen, you're talking about I like to hear some of the announcers in the front or
Yeah.
whatever. I watch these things and I go, I'm listening to this Super Bowl broadcast on one of the networks, and I'm going, I don't think this sounds very good. I don't hear the crowd. I don't hear if I'm going to watch a show that's in surround sound, I want it to feel like I'm there.
Right, that's the whole purpose of it.
My opinion.
Is
Okay.
exposing the viewer
Right.
to the environment.
But that's my opinion.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree.
Somebody else's opinion might be, I don't want to hear, I just want to hear the announcers. All right. And maybe I want to hear a little bit of like when the players, there's a couple of mics usually in the center.
Do you think you're going to get to the point like right now we see a lot of I don't know if you watch the Amazon shows or some of the other shows, you can select your own cameras now. You think you're going to get to the point in the digital world where you're going to be able to pick your own mix? You're going to be able to say, hey, I don't want to hear I just want to hear announcers now. You're going to be able to click off the announcers?
I think there's a little bit of that's available. I don't think anybody's really, there's a certain amount of control that they don't want certain things going out, when they're in a break or whatever.
Yeah.
So they keep it pretty tightly controlled in terms of, when they're in a commercial break, the announcers' mics are closed because it's still being fed out to a bunch of other places when they're in a break. So somebody's going to say something they shouldn't say, and it's going to get picked up, and it's going to end up on, on Twitter or it's going to end up on Instagram, and somebody's going to get in trouble.
Yeah. Nobody wants to.
Right.
Actually, and I don't want to get you in trouble, man. I think you're giving me a lot of your time, man.
Right.
I appreciate you spending the time. Get back to your lunch. Get
Anytime.
back to the
Pleasure.
show. This has been fun. I hope you guys check this out every week. Crew Call Live. Once I figure this out, Crew Call Live will
Right.
be live at 5 on the Behind the Broadcast YouTube channel every week. I'm going to be talking to sports, entertainment, broadcast professionals. I'm going to get their stories about how they got to where they are and what they do when they're there. You know, how you maintain, how you learn, what you want to learn, all these other things. I really appreciate everybody who's been supporting me doing this. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your time and
Sure.
you sharing your knowledge. This guy has done a lot. He actually came and spoke to my class and spent time. So he's given a lot to this industry, this community, and to this union. And I'd have to thank you for that. Appreciate that. Thank you
Sure.
for your time. Thank you all for watching this. I hope you guys learned something, enjoyed this. And if you want to learn more about broadcasting, go to broadcastworkshops.org. If you missed any of the Crew Call Lives or you want to see what I've been doing for the last few months, I have talked to the CBS A crew, the Fox A crew. I have talked to different people. I've talked to the guys who worked the World Series this past year and everybody, the TD from the World Series, cameramen from the World Series, and other people who are working in this industry doing great work that will hopefully inspire some young people to one day do their own great work. All right, let me figure out how to shut this thing down. All right, hopefully this ends it for everybody. If you hear me after this, that's bad for you. Ignore it.